Continuing the previous discussion about vinyl care, I still stand by my statement that it doesn't really make sense to buy vinyl records these days. If you want a physical media, then you can go to any charity shop and buy CDs for a much lower price than you can vinyl. I do, however, still look at vinyl whenever I go into a charity shop or a thrift store, as they say in America. And that was a point in case when my wife and I went out earlier in the week, and I got a copy of this LP or double LP by Jonathan Butler. Jonathan Butler's a South African musician, singer-songwriter, a bit like George Benson perhaps, but a bit more disco orientated with some of his stuff. Now, the reason I picked this up, and the cover is in excellent condition, was because some years ago I had a flood in our house. We had a 3-story house, and the basement where I had my listening room was also flooded, and one of the areas of water ingress was right above where I stored my LPs. So as you can imagine, I should add that we were actually out of the country when the leak happened, so we don't know how long it had been going on for, only to say that we came home and my basement was doing a reasonable impersonation of a swimming pool. But what happened then, therefore, was the record collection, the covers were turned into basically pulp. I had papier-mâché album covers. So what I did was, and here is the same album, I got some plain cardboard DJ sleeves, which I could then just about get some liners in, and all the covers that had been destroyed, I replaced them with these. And then I went on a hunt through second-hand shops. There was a great second-hand record store in Plymouth at the time that had a 50p bargain rack upstairs, and they had hundreds of LPs in there. So I would go in, I had a list of 280 albums that needed new covers, and I'll go in, and it didn't matter, of course, the quality of the LP, because mine were fine. This was one of the reasons for buying the record cleaning machine, was to make sure there was no debris or detritus left over on the surface, the playing surface, once I'd re-sleeved them. So I went about looking for replacement sleeves, as I've done here. Now, the only issue I came across was, in 90% of the instances, when I get home, didn't even bother looking at the LPs inside were as good as the LPs I had on the shelf without the cover. So I ended up basically just duplicating everything. So this is what I've now bought. I didn't look at it in the shop. I looked at it when I got home, and as with the other instances, a testament to the longevity of the vinyl medium is that the pressings look perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a quick clean of that, of the 2 LPs in here, and then try them out and see how we get on. Well, the cleaning process was fine. One of the sides was quite badly fingerprinted, so that needed a bit more cleaning. Put them on the turntable. Initially used the Decca London cartridge because it absolutely retrieves a phenomenal amount of information from the groove, and there is no hiding place for groove damage. And then went on to play all the albums after I'd done a test through the various parts. You know, took a sample on the outside edge, the middle and the inside edge. No apparent damage on any of them. So then went on to play all four sides using the Autophon cartridge, which makes every record sound much better than it has any reason to. And they were absolutely fine. So again, failed in my mission to just get some cheap LPs. I paid £1 for this, so I now have 2 copies of Jonathan Butler's first album, or double album. One which I paid full price for umpteen years ago, and one which I paid £1 for in a charity shop, which is a bargain by anybody's stretch of the imagination. So this will go into the collection with the unsleeved ones, and I guess I don't bother now looking for any replacement sleeves or covers. And in fact, this just proves the fact that I've been wasting my time all along, and every time I have done have found a replacement cover, it has been a pointless exercise, which is why I ended up with 3 copies of Michael Jackson's Thriller before I actually found a copy that had been so badly abused that I could throw away the LP and re-sleeve or recover or use the second-hand cover for my current one in there, but it still doesn't alter the fact that I now have 3 copies of Michael Jackson's Thriller. When as I've done with this one, decided that it's fine and okay to keep. Gatefold albums, I use the Spincare crystal gatefold covers to put on the album covers and store them. And when I'm using singles LPs, I use what's called a G13 Ziploc bag. These are much lower price than standard album covers. If you're going to buy Blake's sleeve, which has the adhesive on it, which you then fold over and adhere it to seal it, they are rather expensive. And as I say, these are less than half the price of a Blake sleeve and half the price of a bag of LP covers. I think this last batch I bought, I usually buy them by the 100. This last batch I bought, I paid £8.50 for 100. So that's what I use to store the albums in. I like the Spin Care sleeves. They are just a basic tube of polythene, and I find it reasonably easy to get the albums in. I've used 50 of these recently, a 50 pack, got another 50 pack on order, and I find that it's fairly easy to get the album in. And I've had no trouble with these whatsoever, so they're, I say, my preferred storage for gatefolds. Okay, so that's about it this time round. I will say that I did make, in one of the comments I got, somebody was talking about having a pressing done, and I commented that don't have it done in colour. I will say I think colour vinyl is not as good as black vinyl for sound quality. I find the noise floor to be considerably higher with coloured vinyl. Black vinyl quietest, solid colour is the next quietest. Clear colours are quite noisy, and then the splattered or multi coloured vinyls, which look quite amazing on the turntables and spinning round, are by far the noisiest of the coloured vinyls. And picture discs are absolutely appalling because of the manufacturing process. And this is borne out by a lot of the pressing plants actually have mentioned that there will be increased noise if you opt for a coloured vinyl. Now, I do have some coloured vinyls. The Latham's double album that I bought is on solid yellow. I think my earliest album is, or earliest coloured album, or is a white vinyl copy of John Stewart's Blondes. I also have a white vinyl album by a band called Birdland, which annoyingly had white vinyl, white label with white printing on it, and also the cover was white with white printing on it. The cover unfortunately got destroyed in the flood, but I still retain the white vinyl with white label, now in a bright blue sleeve, I expect. But I do find vinyl, coloured vinyl, more noisy. I had occasion in the last couple of weeks to buy a triple boxed album set by a band called Andwella. This was all three of their albums with a rather nice booklet detailing the history of the band. And the vinyl came on transparent, 2 patches of transparent, 2 patches of grey vinyl, and you could actually hear the difference in surface noise as the needle progressed from the grey to the clear and back to the grey. So on quiet passages, you got a shimmering noise in the background with background noise or the noise floor. The pressing was unfortunately too bad to keep. There were a vast number of pops and clicks on the albums, so they got sent back for a refund. And as I couldn't find, or they couldn't provide, a black vinyl copy, I elected for a refund as opposed to a replacement set of discs, although I would still like that box set. But it'll be one that just sort of, if I come across a black vinyl version, then that's what I'll look for. The other version that's available is a splatter one, which I say will be even worse sounding than the dual coloured one that I ended up with. So that's finally it. I'll be back again later. Goodbye.